Thank you all. We have come to the end of our presentations. I'm glad to see Sonia is sipping coffee. I hope other participants also have some coffee, tea, or water that they need. We decided that we would not take the break now, but we believe that it's better to continue with the discussion because we are already a little bit late compared to our schedule. So if you all agree, we would continue with discussion now, and probably in some 45 minutes or so. I would ask our panelists to turn on their cameras now, if it's technically possible for them, so we can all see ourselves, and it will be also easier for the audience to follow the discussion. Again, I will greet a colleague, Bojan Linardic from Croatian Institute for Spatial Development. He is the head of the institute, and I would maybe start the discussion with a question directed to Bojan in regards to our national spatial plan for state plan for spatial development of Croatia. We know that this plan was introduced with the law in 2014, and basically today it's a prerequisite for a reform of Croatian system of spatial planning. Basically, it's a prerequisite for a new generation of spatial plans. According to our law, this plan was it's meant to be in a way quite defined. It's not strategic anymore, but it's becoming a plan of implementation in a variety of different planning areas, including national infrastructure of national importance, but also forestry, areas of agriculture. It deals with the details such as areas of landslides, etc. We know that the design of this plan is quite slow, and we also know that we have in plan the changes of our legislation. So having in mind these experiences, especially for instance Germany, where as if I understood correctly, planning at this level is only strategic. In Czech Republic, we also heard that national spatial development policy deals only with the national priorities and schemes or charts. In Slovenia, if I understand correctly, they have sectoral plans for different elements of state infrastructure. So Bojan, can you tell us in what way the changes of our legislation will go in terms of our national plan for spatial development?
Thank you, Niksha. Hello to everyone. Good afternoon. For beginning, I would like to say that we have strategic of spatial development. It's our main document for main strategic themes and data. The concept of state plan, as Niksha said, started in 2014, and it was one new concept which was designed like development would start from up to down, and with concept that every other level have to wait the upper level. Now we are not anymore in that concept, and we started few pilot projects for every level of special plan. So we started one pilot project for regional level for we call županija or county. We started and almost finished another level of plan, which is for one city, one government municipality level, and also we are preparing the third level for urbanistic plan. So it is the lower level detail plan. About the state plan, we now prepare the amendments of the law in the way to reduce number of teams in state plan, to reduce number, because we don't have data already for all context, for all data which we like to have. It's not possible yet to put all this information in state plan in this moment. So the concept is to reduce a number of teams and to go with version 1 in procedure, and to start this way new generation of plan.
Thank you, Bojan. Maybe we can remain on this theme of the top level spatial plan. I know it's hard to compare Croatia with Germany, but it's easy, for instance, to compare Croatia with Slovenia, and we also have a very quite similar systems. So maybe Bogdana, can you clarify a little bit the system of this planning at the national level? I mean, what does the state plan of Slovenia mean in your system, and especially in terms of its strategic and implementational levels? And I think you mentioned separate plans for different infrastructural elements of state importance. So if you can clarify a little bit your system.
Hello again. At the state level, at the national level, we have a strategic plan which covers the entire Slovenia, and also implementation plans which are quite detailed and are meant for nationally important projects, mainly infrastructure, so highways and such things are planned through these spatial implementation national spatial plans, and they are also the basis for building permits. At the strategic level, Slovenia has adopted only one plan so far in these 30 years. And there are guidelines for for priorities in spatial planning. In spatial planning in Slovenia, a concept of development of the whole territory. It determines, for instance, which parts of Slovenia should develop in which way. and also the main framework for infrastructure, public and for roads and amenities. However, the next national strategic plan has already been prepared, but it is still in the process of the public debate. So we will soon have our next national strategic plan. Meanwhile, implementation spatial plans are prepared regularly, and we have many of them because they were the basis for building national highways. These were the priority. These were the most visible results of these implementation national spatial plans.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask Vít the same or similar question about your system of planning on the national level? Maybe to clarify a question a bit more. If you have, let's say, a highway or a railroad of national importance or a power plant of national importance, what is the way of planning it? I mean, do you only do it on a state level, or is it planned on more local plans, local levels? If you can clarify this a bit.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this document has a little bit different position because it's approved by the government, and it defines, let's say, the directions, particularly the coordination on international level and some development corridors, development axis, or some areas or regions with, let's say, low performance, national parks. So if you have a very specific question about particular projects like highway, power plant, and so on, this is physically they are placed in the plan on the regional level, so that the regional level plans are actually those which physically defines corridors, locations. So this is not visible on the national level. This is only on the regional level. And of course, we are now also questioning this role of a national plan, because it seems that this is not strong enough. In the Czech Republic, the average time of highway project negotiation is 10 to 30 years. This is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. So the government, I think, will change the policy, and the national plan will be more powerful, not just directives, but also it will have the physical footprint in the land.
So basically, if I understood correctly, you are thinking about going in the same direction as Croatia has already started. Yes, although we started this 6 years ago and are still waiting for such a plan with this very ambitious plan to be basically finished and implemented. So let's see in which way we'll go. Maybe someone else would like to add a bit on this topic. Tihomir, what's the way in Germany, related maybe to your federal states, because this is something that we can compare to states like Croatia or Slovenia.
I would compare it to each of the federal states, the document. However, these documents are not legally binding, as I already mentioned. They are like documents outlining perspective. They definitely try to implement all the elements of sectoral planning, for example, nature protection. So they outline a certain natural area on the document and try to see what the impact of such an area on the broader environment could be. However, they are more directed at outlining strategic direction of development, urban development. The extent to which then or detail, the extent of detailing is then different from the state to state. If for the city-state like Hamburg or Berlin, it is more detailed than, for example, for Bavaria, which is a huge space. But back to your question, motorways, wind plants, and so on. These are all subject of sectoral planning. They are not outlined necessarily in spatial plans of regions or the state. They are actually negotiated through the procedure of sectoral planning, which takes, like in the Czech Republic, up to 50 years. I don't know. I mean, or it will never. I mean, it always includes years of in front of the court at a different level. So it is a very court-related procedure which cannot be defined at all in a professional system of planning. So, example is a new tunnel or bridge between Denmark and Germany, which would be financed by the Danish government. However, it cannot be built, although it's in planning for 30 years now, because local municipalities on the German side object any idea of the tunnel and the road through their territory. So in the end, it all boils down again to the very municipal level, which has the say in final decision.
Yes, that's the main question here in this reform of our system, that buildings of national significance should be planned and get permit according to a national plan. This way, not including the local level. And it was interesting for me to hear when you mentioned your plans of the local level and the time it takes to design them. And you mentioned 2 to 5 years, and the same time for amending them if somebody is going to amend them. This is the main topic of discussion in Croatia with each change of legislation. It's always what we showed in his presentation. It's always doing business and obstacles of doing business, and let's make these procedures shorter and more efficient.
I have to interrupt now because I know the Croatian system. Of course, I know it from 10 years ago, but I don't know how much it changed. Bojan can correct me if I'm anywhere wrong. There's a huge difference between the way hierarchy of planning or scaling of planning is implemented in Germany and in Croatia. So in Croatia, if there's a detailed plan, and I would put the Bebauungsplan in Germany at the level of a detailed plan because it covers really just a single block. If you want to change a detailed plan, you have to change the whole hierarchy of plannings of planning documents above. So it is then urban plan, I don't know, spatial plan for the municipality, and so on and so forth. In Germany, it's only the Bebauungsplan, the detailed plan, which is valid. So it does not need to correspond to any other level of planning. So you can change them independently. It doesn't need to be the same use you have in Bebauungsplan, so the lowest level plan can be something completely different than the use in the plan covering the whole municipality, because municipality plan is just mandatory, is binding for public bodies, so it's just like a public document for them to work on. But the only legal level of deciding is the so-called Bebauungsplan. And this one, municipalities, those which are powerful, of course, use for the negotiation with investors. If they like what the investor, so it allows for negotiating each project at the individual level, because there's no need to change the whole plan for the city in order to make one project be realized. And that's a very important difference between Croatian and German system, apart from other stuff. But the way that hierarchy of planning does not require for plans to conform like strictly with each other.
Yes, that is a big problem in Croatia, specifically because we have this very strict reading of plans on all levels, and sometimes small change requires change of maybe 2 or 3 levels of plans. Of course, it takes a lot of time and energy to change it. We have some questions from the audience, so I would maybe start with them. And a question from Jelena Borota is directed to mechanisms of land reallocation in terms of implementation of the local level plans. Problems, parties involved. This is basically a big problem in Croatia, because we don't have these mechanisms of implementation of plans, because the land ownership is very much based, strict, and with plans, it's difficult to implement them without these efficient systems, basically of land reallocation. So we can start maybe with the Czech Republic. What is the experience in your country regarding this issue?
So the land relocation is possible. We have a special tool for that. The most powerful instrument is the regulatory plan. Take an example, the development of residential houses in a village. So the regulatory plan can be a basic document which is linked with so-called planning contract, and also with this new land division scheme. So in this triangle, you can solve this very effectively, but you have a need a consent of people. You know, against the will of the individual landlords, you are lost. There is still a lot of way how to disagree with that. The only kind of effective way if you build a construction in public interest. So there is a system of expropriation of land there, which is not very frequently used, but is used more and more. You know, so in terms of expropriation for roads and other public facilities, there is a way how to do this, but it's time consuming, definitely time consuming, but the system is there.
Does it work in a local level, for instance, for roads or streets of local importance, for maybe a place to build a school or kindergarten? Do you have instruments at that level as well?
Schools, there are different types of public facilities, and schools, for example, are not involved in this expropriation law. So it's mainly roads, roads, railways, flood protection, for example, or some special type of greenery, but not everything is there. So mainly it works on based on agreements. There is agreement is the base. And there are only few cases of expropriation in the Czech Republic. There, individual cases. So it is not in a reality. It is not used.
But when you say agreement, does it mean agreement is reached at the point of plan drafting, or afterwards when the plan is adopted?
It is it's in the same time. You have to sign the contract in the same time when the regulatory plan is approved. So it cannot be separately done. So that if you don't have a contract, your plan will not be approved.
What about other countries? This is a big problem in Croatia at the local level. Bogdana, what about Slovenia?
The municipality has the authority to determine the land use. However, it may not coerce the landowners. So it has always to balance private interest with the public interest, or else individuals go to the court, and recently the court decided in their favor. So in the past,
I'm sorry, in whose favor?
In the favor of the landowner. Yes, we last year we had two very important decisions from the highest court of Slovenia, and this concentrated the minds of the planners. We became much more. We had to consider private interests more than in the past. It is important to know that Slovenia is a young country, and our roots are in socialism, where public bodies had more power than today. So we are all still adapting to this private property and all everything that comes from it. It was very interesting to me to listen to today's panelists. It was a stark difference between the Czech Republic, Montenegro, Croatia, and Slovenia. We are all young countries, and on the other side, Germany, with the old political and economic system. It is very obvious there are benefits of this continuity of spatial planning system. I must say that I very much like the German system, and we are trying to persuade our ministry to put more emphasis on the sort of the plans like the Bebauungsplans, which are correlated with our detailed implementation municipal plans. We try to put more emphasis on these plans, because this current system is quite complicated in Slovenia in this sense that everything is planned through the municipality detailed plan, which is too detailed for the area which it covers. It covers the whole municipality, and it's too much. It's too complicated.
Sonia, you wanted to say something?
Yes. Exactly. It is very interesting to see these, repercussions of changing what's important in our systems. But it is also very important to kind of notice that not all private interests are the same, and also that saying public interest, it's a very heavy term, and what is understood by it. And there is, in Montenegro, there is a very also quite new law on expropriation, which, if I remember correctly, and I would have to get back to you on this, but actually really expands again the rights of the state to buy up, even if the private owner does not fully agree. Like if this is the state interest, basically, you know, you will get them some money, but you kind of have to. So, and this was also heavily debated a couple of years ago. But it is not in a sense, like it's not the same if there is a private interest of, let's say, a small municipality or a small owner of a land who has a private interest in building, for example, local store or residency or something, and the private interest of an investor who comes from overseas or from wherever, and this is often the case, I think in Montenegro definitely, and I think also in Croatia, who comes and buys plots of land on the Adriatic coast and insists to develop huge resort there, which is going to be a system, you know, for itself, which doesn't really contribute greatly to the quality of, for example, you know, like a job market in the area, which basically is kind of a cash cow for private interest that doesn't, it can be debated that it doesn't really contribute to the long-term development of the local community. It's like entity in itself. But, you know, this company or this person, they have this right for this land and they want, you know, what they want. And if you are a country that bases its economy on tourist development, on extensive building of these, you know, tourist suites or hotels, and if you really want to make these investors like this happy, and you construct your whole system in a sense to be able to give them whatever they want, this is a clear road towards disaster in a spatial sense, because you're just giving, you know, so for this, I think it is important to have the different levels to, you know, like strengthen the local level, strengthen the regional level, to be able to articulate different interests and to actually be able to, you know, kind of make these important distinctions between like who's private interest and how it kind of plugs into the broader interest of the local economy and the local community, and without just, you know, bickering about, you know, who is jeopardizing someone's private interests. So, and this is I think the big debate that is lacking actually in Montenegro, because we are really still in a sense of shock. You know, what do we, because we are stuck. Really, the system we have now is not working. After 4 years, it's evident it's not working, but it's also it's left to see what's going to happen next. And if the new government, because the government in Montenegro has changed like half a year ago, if they're going to do something about this legislative framework.
Yes, of course, it's always a question of protecting the public interest, and who protects the public interest, because the private interest is quite loud and quite clear. And in this planning process, and especially here in the process of changes, of amending the existing plans, they are usually amended mainly according to private interests, which is, I mean, it's not bad per se, but it's the problem is that even the local governments don't have enough capacities to define and protect in a way public interest. I would like maybe to hear from Tihomir. I mean, the system in Germany is quite interesting to us, because we come from countries where everything needs to be strict, formal, and defined, and you have, as it seems, more informal and strategic plans. But on the other hand, I mean, when we go to German towns, we see the level of public infrastructure in terms of schools or kindergartens or tree lines or parks. I mean, you still manage to build them, or am I wrong?
So yeah, thank you for your question. First of all, I don't want to idealize Germany. Germany is another context, and here we have to keep in mind that Germany has consolidated ownership. I do not follow I did not do research on that. I'm not in detail informed, but but in Germany we do not talk small ownership. It is consolidated big capital ownership of the whole land, of the whole cities, of the whole neighborhoods. There's no talking about individual ownership of small owners like in Croatia, Slovenia, Southern Europe. When land in East Germany was privatized, it was simply relocated to big West German companies and owners, landowners. So negotiating land relocation in Germany is regulated by the Land Consolidation Act or something like that. I'm not an expert in that. It's a very difficult legal procedure, but from the practice, it is then confirmed again at the level of the Bebauungsplan. And to put it banal, Berlin at the moment has this bad guy coming from Austria, Renebenko, who bought the chain of department stores in Berlin, and he wants to, of course, close them and build higher, denser at the same location. So for each of these locations, the city government of Berlin requires the Bebauungsplan. So it's a really banal negotiation. You get 5 floors more on your high rise in case you keep at the other part of the town in department store 20 workplaces over the period of 20 years. This costs that much, so you can get that many floor area more. It's a really political instrument of negotiation directly with an investor. As I said, again, it is very easy when land ownership is consolidated. So the city government has really clear, something similar happens now obviously in Montenegro with big capital buying the land. So once land ownership is consolidated, they really can negotiate in the way, okay, in this area, we will exchange land, you will get land plot somewhere else, and the city will get a land to build a kindergarten and a school. Speaking of kindergartens, the situation in Germany is horrible. There's no kindergartens in Germany, and so they do not build them because there's no political will to build them. But anyway, land reallocation is regulated. It's facilitated by the fact that land ownership in Germany is already consolidated. And this act basically mostly pertains to forestry and agriculture, because Germany aims for big farming industry. Their main goal is to consolidate agricultural land for industrial farming. So it's more directed at agricultural land than the urban land. In the urban land, at the level of really small detailed planning, the political establishment has power to, or not, depending on the municipality, to negotiate directly with the investor how much they get how much the investor gets and how much then the municipality can profit from it.
Yes, it's clearly there are different roles of politicians and of planners. I would say that the public here expects more from planners than what is their real scope of work or possibility. So usually it's planners who are guilty for not having schools, kindergartens, etc. But basically, it's always, as you said, say a negotiation on some other levels as well. We have one question from the audience that says that deals with the role of planners or with professional organizations. Gorana says that in Croatia the legal framework is heavily criticized by the planning experts. What is the opinion of your national experts in the legal framework in your countries? And furthermore, are these spatial planning policies being implemented based on the professional knowledge and opinion? Basically, are you listened by your decision makers? I see Vít already has an answer to that.
Yes. Yesterday, the parliament approved a new building code which says that the living room doesn't have to have a daylight and doesn't have to have a ventilation. So I wonder who are the experts who advise that stupidity. So I do hope that in the next round this legislation will be refused. But generally, unfortunately, not very much. I'm a member of the Czech Association of Planners, and we are officially registered so-called consultation point. There are many other public or civic organization involved, so that we do have a possibility to comment all the legislation steps, and we do so. But that's it, that's it.
Bogdana, you are also active in your Chamber of Architects. Maybe you can give us your view on situation in Slovenia.
Well, as a commissioner for spatial planning in our chamber, I'm tasked to try to cooperate with our ministry in relation to our spatial planning legislation. But unfortunately, our chamber is not listened to enough for our perception. We are quite critical. We don't like very much this current law. We think that plans should be, their content should be more balanced. The main criticism goes to this main implementation spatial plan, the municipality spatial plan, which wants to do too much. And the process of preparing and changing this plan is sometimes 10 years long, and all investors lose their patience in this time. So we will like to see to be more listened to. And we also think that we who try to establish our spatial planning system from anew should look beyond our borders to older spatial planning systems where generation of planners built it. And as I said before, our spatial planning system started quite similar to the German one, but then we went our own way, and this was not good. So yes, as the colleague from the Czech Republic said, we want to change our law, we want to influence our ministry, but for now we are not too successful.
Thank you. And a question to Bojan from the audience as well. What is the plan regarding the planned changes to our national law on physical planning, and how do you intend to include local experts and their views on this topic?
Thank you. Changes in state national plan as I said before, it's in reducing number of teams. It is not only instrument, or it's not only national level of plan. We also have, as we heard, we also have parks, national parks. We have nature parks and so on. It's all national level. So intention is now to plan or to map all infrastructure corridors, all infrastructure, strategic important infrastructure in a national plan, and to prepare another level, all plans for smaller parts of that infrastructure. So we after first version of national plan will be adopted, we then we are going that then in second level of planning. It is also national level, but in smaller areas.
Okay, we are slowly running out of time, and I have two more topics that I'd like to cover. One is basically integration of strategic planning, but strategic planning in terms of strategic development plans, especially in the EU, that are connected with the use of EU funds, and spatial planning. In Croatia, these two types of planning are running on parallel tracks, sometimes not coordinated, or in many cases not coordinated. And the third track, let's say, is environmental planning or strategic impact studies that are done for plans, which was previously part of the planning process. Now it's a separated process in Croatia, and it's in terms of financial capacities of local municipalities, but also in terms of time needed to make the plans or amendments of plans. This is becoming quite a big obstacles. What are the experiences in other countries? Maybe Bogdana, you mentioned something about this, I believe, in your presentation. Microphone.
Well, can you please repeat your last question, please?
Well, the question is about the strategic plans, but
yes,
strategic development plans.
Okay.
In Croatia, they are done in a different ministry according to totally different law that is not connected to a spatial planning law, and they are very often planning on a project level, and when it comes to implementation of specific projects, then we realize that they are not according to spatial plans.
Yes.
So we get a lot of pressures to spatial planning process from this strategic planning, and also the third parallel process is environment protection and environmental impact studies that are done for the planning process. For instance, what I want to ask you is, for instance, strategic impact studies in Slovenia, are they done on all levels of spatial plans, including the lowest level of spatial plans?
Environmental impact assessments are an integral part of preparation of our plans, but they are carried out only when necessary. So all strategic plans and all implementation plans are the subject of this assessment. And they are quite often carried out, these environmental impact assessments. Currently, we have only two types of strategic plans in Slovenia. First is the National Strategic Plan, but hardly anyone knows about it because it's very broad and not too detailed. However, every municipality has its strategic plan, which was until recently an integral part of the municipality spatial plan. However, in this new legislation from 2017, these municipality strategic spatial plans are not obligatory anymore because the ministry wanted to put more emphasis on the regional level. Because Slovenia has Slovenia wants to prepare its regional strategic plans for long. However, it is not successful. So now these regional strategic plans are obligatory. We don't have them yet. And municipal strategic spatial plans are not obligatory anymore. However, we have them. We often debate with our public bodies who follow the procedure of preparation of implementation plans with their opinions. Especially our Ministry for Spatial Planning, they are too strict in the relation where implementation plan has to correlate with the strategic plan. We planners think that these implementation plan do not have to follow the strategic plan always, because the strategic plan is changed rarely, about every 15 years or so. It is more a guideline, and it is not. It does not have to be carried out in every detail. But sometimes these debates are futile. They want us to change a strategic plan also if we want to carry out our implementation plan. So it's a never-ending story. But we think that a strategic plan is only at the level of guidelines, and implementation plan has to follow its basic guidelines, but not in every detail. It's logical. But every municipality, a region, and the state, of course, needs the strategic plan. This is necessary. However, this is not an implementation plan.
This is exactly the discussion we have in Croatia, and it's basically the same principle for in terms of our profession, and also the same, let's say, friction with the ministry and with the other authorities. Maybe if we can hear more about these environmental assessments carried out. Vít, can you tell us a little bit about how it's done in the Czech Republic, and how long does it take if you need to carry out the strategic impact study for a certain plan?
Yes. So first of all, as I would like to repeat that the strategical planning is not legally anchored in our system, so that any public body which develops a strategic plan does it on voluntary basis, and there are no formal procedures how to interconnect it with special plans. And in terms of strategic environmental assessment, this is obligatory for regional plans. And then there are special rules how to implement it in municipal plans. So it are special conditions to be fulfilled. A part of that, there is a special consideration of Natura 2000 and these birds protection areas. So, and it takes, let's say, depends on the size of the municipality. Like Prague, it takes maybe years, but generally the preparation of regional plans is a question of 4 to 6 years. Amendments of regional plans take usually 1 to 3 years in that range.
But if I understood correctly, these environmental impact studies are done only on the regional level, not on the local level.
As obligatory, yeah. Mm-hmm. On a municipal level, this is a question of, let's say, task setting, and in the, let's say, the regional environmental department put this as a request for a particular reason. Then it's approved in the task setting of the municipal plan, and then there is a must there. But it is not an automatic obligatory document.
Okay, thank you. We are now at 30 minutes past our schedule, but if you allow me, only one last question, and it deals with the standardization of plans. Vít already mentioned something in his presentation. It's a question of where to stop with this standardization. We have now standardized the graphic elements of our plans, and also the elements of textual part of our plans, but this new reform from 2014, this new law from 2014 calls for a new ordinance that would define all the graphic elements of our plans, and also connect them and define with all the textual elements of plans. So in a way, planning would be, to put it simply, would be basically choosing the predefined elements of an ordinance that's on a national level. What are the experiences in other countries in terms of standardization of plans? Maybe Bogdana, we can start with Slovenia.
All right. As I said many times today, the most important plan is the municipality spatial plan, and the ministry strictly controls its technical appearance of the graphic data, because it wants to use it also in relation to other sectors. For instance, we still don't have, we have to establish our system for, how is it called? I cannot find the right word. Taxation, yes, land taxation. We still don't have this. And the Ministry of Finance wants to use the land use for the basis for this taxation. So we, the planners, basically prepare data for this totally other law, and we are not happy about it. because we think that spatial plans are tools for spatial planning, not for taxation. A lot of ministries are concentrated on the data that comes out from this municipality spatial plan. There is a very big pressure on this plan from all sides. So standardization is quite severe in regarding to this plan. However, not at others. So we can prepare our detailed implementation plans as we want them, and also our strategic plans.
Vít, maybe Czech experiences in terms of standardization of spatial plans.
First of all, I'm not an expert in this, but what I do follow, it is, let's say, there are many views on that issue. No, one is who is the who set the tasks. So as I mentioned, that we have this very strange combined system of government and self-government combined in this special planning process, and the government, of course, would prefer fully standardization. On the other hand, there is a very strong opinion of municipalities, particularly strong municipalities, that the special planning should be set out of the responsibility of state and should be in the autonomy of, fully autonomy of municipalities, and they should decide what they want to have in as a standard by themselves. So, and also it's a conflict of generations, you know, this young planners who don't want to be limited, and traditional planners who prefers to. So it's a complicated process. So current agreement is that we have to have at least some common line to be standardized, and to allow some freedom for some attributes which are outside that. And there is always a question where to put this bottom line.
Okay, thank you. It's a very interesting discussion, and we started a series of webinars in Croatian Chamber of Architects, and we always conclude at the end that we should do more of these discussions. As I said in my introduction, if we learned something from this pandemic, it's that we have these very effective tools of long distance communication that don't require many other organizational aspects. I would like to thank all the panelists from today, and also the audience. We had more than 300 participants in this today's panel, and I will also say that we continue tomorrow in a similar format at the same time at 10 a.m. Central European Time. Tomorrow we will have presentations from Italy, United Kingdom, Austria, and Latvia. So I would like to invite you all also to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow your host will be Gojko Berlengi, who is also here with us today. So once again, thank you all of our panelists for your presentation and also for your discussion, and thanks to all of our audience for their patience and also contribution in terms of questions in chat, etc. And I hope to see you all tomorrow as well. Thank you. Bye.